I want to talk a little bit about Jenna Ortega. Jenna has been one of the most hotly discussed actresses up until today, and though she has been acting since she was 9, her recent role as Wednesday Addams has gotten her probably the most attention, namely the Wednesday dance scene, this one, which took off on TikTok. But before that, she has starred in numerous other horror-themed works, from the recent Scream film being one of those examples. Clearly, something about her facial appearance lends herself to being played in the horror genre, and that's what we want to look at. She also seems to garner a lot of attention on her facial and physical attractiveness. What specific facial features make Jenna attractive, and what gives her this eerie, cold appearance? Jenna's under eye region has a subtle lack of soft and hard tissue. What this means is that there is a slight hollowing underneath the eyes, which can often be tied to dark circles and eye bags. Some people will opt for filler in that region to restore the loss of that soft tissue, such as hyaluronic acid filler, which has proven to be effective and lasts about a year. Though the injection sites are close to sensitive arteries and pass through the holes in the cheekbones, however, research by Fabi and Zuleman has concluded that these treatments are pretty safe and effective. However, in Jenna's case, her lack of infraorbital support is not severe enough to take away from her facial attractiveness. It is a defining facial characteristic that perhaps allows her to play some of these darker roles. Under eye fillers would not be that suitable in Jenna's case. Because she's only 20 years old, her lack of under eye prominence cannot really be attributed to age-related fat loss. It seems to be her natural bone structure, and she doesn't naturally have very deep-set eyes, which are created by a prominent brow ridge and upper jaw. Attempting to fill in the under eye region would not only match the natural shape of her mid-face region, it would also look disproportionately too advanced. And we can demonstrate with some filler what this would look like in Photoshop and correct some of that discoloration of the lower lid to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. The rest of Jenna's eye region could be classified as sexually dimorphic or feminine, and she has a rounder eye shape with more vertical height of the eye fissure or the eye opening, and her eyebrows are set higher on the face, leading to a docile, non-aggressive appearance, which is perfect for a damsel in distress who really isn't a damsel in distress, as we find out later in some of her movies. Similar to her subtle infraorbital edema and discoloration, so basically eye bags and dark circles, she also has a subtle amount of scleral show. The white of her eyes underneath her iris are quite visible, but this is not that significant. The region under the eyes is supported by the cheekbones and the surrounding bone structure. Research by Wong et al. In the Journal of Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery note how the face ages. The bones dissipate, especially with regards to the teeth and dental structure, and as a result the face loses support and the skin seems to sink. However, Jenna is young and her jaw supports her mid-face region, but she already shows early signs of laxity in the lower eyelids. Right now, Jenna's rounder eye shape with subtle scleral show can be a desirable trait in making her look more otherworldly, but taken to the extreme, it can also age the face. Tilting one's head down while looking forward is an easy way to exacerbate the appearance of scleral show, and you'll notice she does that a lot as Wednesday Addams, where the rest of the eyes will also appear more intimidating. Her gothic fashion sense and eyeshadow as Wednesday only contribute to the roundness of the effect and the whiteness of the eyes being visible, a very intimidating technique. Aside from Jenna's unique eye area, she also ticks most of the boxes of a conventionally attractive face. The first being that she has a dimorphic face, or a majority of her facial features appear feminine. And so what are these feminine characteristics, you may ask? Well, Jenna has a flatter frontal bone for the forehead with a slight rounding towards the top. This is actually a defining characteristic of a feminized forehead region. Men typically have more slanted foreheads due to their brow ridge prominence, without any rounding towards the top. A more pronounced example of this is actress Zoe Kravitz, which we've analyzed in a previous video. On top of this, Jenna's nose is not very prominent. Most non-Caucasian ethnic groups tend to have less protrusive noses on average. Since Jenna is of a Mexican and Puerto Rican background, the less protrusive nose does not stray too far from Hispanic averages, typically having a Mesoamerican profile. One such paper by Nusi et al. Analyzed the facial measurements of a Colombian population, and interestingly enough, they noted that the profile flatness was almost the same in Caucasian versus Hispanic populations when the nose was not involved. When the full tissue profile is analyzed, including the nose, the difference is substantial. This is mostly due to the difference in nose protrusion, meaning the nose is quite a significant aspect of Jenna's side profile. A more prominent nose leads to a rounder profile, while a less protrusive nose gives a straighter profile. Note that Jenna's side profile appears straighter than someone like Daisy Ridley's, with a higher angle of facial convexity. The study did find some other differences like fuller lips among the Colombian population as well. Lucy et al. Also notes that other studies confirm the appearance of maxillary prognathism, which is a dental characteristic, and more protrusive lips among Hispanic populations. Now, Jenna doesn't seem to possess fuller than average lips, though while they're not overly protrusive, they don't break the harmony with the rest of her profile. And in her case, it's quite a desirable feature that makes her face appear youthful because she is still 20. Okay, so with that being said, what makes Jenna conventionally attractive? Well, you see, Jenna has a face shape that can be described as ovular but with an angular jaw. Her temporal region, or the forehead, narrows and rounds towards the top. This is also a feminizing facial feature. However, most of the time, Jenna seems to mask this through various curtain or bang hairstyles. The bob hairstyles with bangs works particularly well for her face. Her rounding temple gives the illusion of a rounder face shape, detracting from the angularity of the lower face, and so it's a very deliberate act to be wearing the bangs. Perhaps that subconsciously influences her hairstyle choices. Jenna's face is also quite proportionate. Her face is neither too long or short, which plays into averageness. Of course, a defined jawline is one of the first things we tend to notice in a face. Jenna's jaw displays perfect occlusional indicators, where an X-ray of her bone structure would reveal no excessive overbites or underbites. In other words, she has very healthy facial development. Various profile assessments can be used to check how pleasant, quote-unquote, a side profile may appear, and Jenna possesses all of the markers of a pleasant side profile. Her profile is not too flat or rounded, which can indicate deficiency in the upper, middle, or lower thirds of the face. Her high cheekbones and jaw structure do give her that model-esque appearance, while at the same time her eyes are not as piercing. With the rounded, more feminized shape, they do appear more docile. So this combination of the two are what makes her attractive to most people, having a healthy amount of facial contrast, but also having facial harmony, as we saw with the measurements in the orthodontic profiles. Perhaps the largest change in Jenna's appearance is when she plays Wednesday Addams. Her skin tone is cooler, her hair is darker. This maximizes the contrast in her face. There is a harsher transition from her hair to her facial features. Even her eyes themselves have higher contrast, where the whites of her eyes starkly contrast her darker eye color. Overall, this gives her a more polarizing appearance, and that's why you want to go for in the show. At the same time, it doesn't really detract from her facial attractiveness because none of her actual facial features or the structures have changed. One thing to note about Jenna's facial features is that she doesn't have an overly eerie appearance by default. When playing Wednesday Addams, she has to actually lean into that, and that's where makeup and styling go a long way. With warmer hair tones and normal facial expressions, some of that spookiness just disappears. So overall, she has a conventionally attractive face with high indicators of youth and health, which makes it easy to change things with makeup and styling and still have it look attractive. Her facial profile represents what is typically seen among Hispanic subgroups, that being slightly more protrusive lips and less protrusive noses, and her distinctive features are the eyes, which are rounder and more high set than most. And this separates her from the most generically attractive faces we would see in Hollywood, where Jenna's rounder doe eyes give an innocent appearance, and her under eye region and lax lower eyelid add character to the eyes, as well as being a foreshadowing of doom. So there you have it, that's Jenna Ortega. Now if you'd like to get your face assessed, much like we broke it down here, you can head over to the Coos website, and our team of doctors and dentists will assess your face and get back to you with things that you can do to make it look better. As always, I'll catch you in the next one.